Hey guys, Alyssa here over Books and Cats, and today I shall be doing my November wrap-up book haul and potentially a December TBR. I'm combining all of these videos because they're not big enough to be videos on their own, so they're just all going to be in this video. First, we will do the books that I bought in November. I bought a whopping 3 books. They were all under $1. I got them all from library book sales. The first book that I bought was Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, The Last Resort by Carolyn Keene. If you can see, I had to tape it back together because the cover fell off because it's that old. I think this is from like 1989. Yeah, it was published in 1989, so I had to like scotch tape it up and put it back together again. But I love these. They are old books that aren't even in print anymore, and they're just always fun, super cute, fast mysteries. Ignore the mountain that's forming right here. I was like, wow, my acne, like my skin's looking really good lately. And then this Mount Vesuvius is forming. The next book that I bought was Chopsticks by Jessica Anthony and Rodrigo Corral. This is a story told completely in pictures. There's no text. And I remember it being really cool at the time, and it was 50 cents, so I figured I would get it and reread it. This book is like $20. And the last book that I bought in November was The Night Circus by Morgan Matson. Erin Morgenstern. I think maybe because there's a Morgan in there. I don't know what that was. I do already own this book. I own it in paperback. I have not read it in forever and a day. This is one of the very early books that I cataloged on Goodreads. That's how long it's been. I've been really wanting to reread it. I love the hardcover edition of it, and I mean, it's just really just stunning. The $1, I figured, couldn't hurt. My other one is in storage, and I was like, well, if I decide I want to reread it before I eventually get those books out of storage, then I'll have a copy. So those were the books that I bought in November. Now on to the books that I read in November. Now, if you're watching this, please go and watch my Borrowathon wrap-up, where I talk about all the books I read in Borrowathon, if you would like to see all of my thoughts on the books that I read this month. And also go and watch the video where I talk about reading the 5 lowest rated books on my TBR, because those are where a lot of the books that I read came from. If you hear sirens in the background, I apologize, my window's open. I read a total of 15 books in the month of November. How? I don't know, but I did. I did that. I've already read 1 book already in December, and I am a third of the way through another one, so hopefully December will be a good month as well. But apparently, according to Goodreads, if I read 5 more books this month, I would have read 100 books this year, and I'm just like patting myself on all of the backs because, like, I don't know how I did that, but I'm so proud of myself. Again, if you want to see the books that I won't be talking about in this video, I will link the other videos above and down below. But let's just get into it. I'm not going to be doing the thing where I normally do my wrap-ups, where I do most favorite to least favorite or whatever it is that I do. I'm just going to do it in the timeline that I did it because it's already so confusing about how I've split up the books that I've read. I'm just going to do them in the order that I read them. The first book that I read is actually a book that I finished technically in October. I filmed my wrap-up early because I was like, I'm not going to finish any more books, and then I did, because I can never do anything right. I finished Reconstructing Amelia by Kimberly McCreight. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Oh my god. If you want a very good thriller that is very unexpected and is just a true page turner, highly recommend this book. I did recently DNF her YA series, the Outliers trilogy by Kimberly McCreight, which was disappointing, but the previous 2 books in the series were really good, and I've heard wonderful things about her adult novels, so I am excited to read more by her. But if you're looking for a good thriller, I highly recommend this one. Trigger warnings, I think, for depression and or suicidal thoughts. Yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. The very first book that I actually read in November, right before Borrowathon started, was Cleopatra: A Life by Stacy Schiff. Now, if you watched my November TBR, I actually wanted to read this for Nonfiction November, and I did. I wanted to read that and The Princess Diarist, and I read both of them, which was very good of me, again. I heard about it, and I've been wanting to read more nonfiction. It's like a thing that I want to start doing more now, is reading more nonfiction, and I found it at a library sale, and I was like, hey, let's give it a shot. And this was a fascinating read. So interesting. I knew some details of Cleopatra, frankly, not much, mostly just I knew some basic thoughts, and I knew some of the names from watching Antony and Cleopatra. I went and saw a play of it, and that's all I know. This was very interesting as someone who does not know much about Cleopatra, and it was very fascinating to read about it and come to find out that like a lot of the things that we know about her, or like basically things we think we know, all the things that we think that we know about her are from not either reliable sources or from biased accounts, which I thought was really interesting. And there's a very actual little fact that we know about her, which was fascinating. And I did not know that she was as rich as she was. The woman had coin. She was loaded. Apparently she is thought to be one of the richest people in the world, right behind Bill Gates. I didn't know that. Did you know that? I did. And it was just so interesting. Normally I'm not really into, I didn't think I was into anything political, but reading about the politics involved with her and everything she did was so very interesting. And it was all just fascinating. It was new information that I had never known before. The author had such a good way of writing this, where every chapter would kind of end on a cliffhanger. Like it would end and it would just be like this big statement, and you just like sat there and you were like, whoa. I remember there was this one, and it was talking about Mark Antony, and it ended about something about him, and I was just like sitting there like literally could not even handle my emotions. It was wild. If you want to know more about Cleopatra and how actual little fact we know about her, I recommend this. I thought it was interesting, factual, and easy to read, surprisingly. The next book that I read was The Mystery at Lilac Inn by Carolyn Keene. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. It was just enjoyable, cute, fun. I actually listened to the audiobook when I had a free trial for Scribd. It was so cute because like every time something interesting happened, there would be like this fast-paced like mystery music, like someone being chased, and there was like music. It was so cute. And the last book that I shall be talking about, because I didn't read much things outside of the like challenge that I did and outside of Bar-a-thon, and that book was The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. After I had finished like reading the lowest books on my TBR, I was just kind of like floating. I didn't have anything in particular I wanted to read. I was just kind of like, what am I in the mood for? And I found out that Holly Black is going on tour for The Wicked Prince near me. So I was like, let's give it a shot. I tried reading The Cruel Prince close to when it came out, probably like so early this year. I tried reading it and I wasn't into it, mostly because the beginning of the book is very intense. So I was just like turned off by it, and then I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. So this time around, I read it and I couldn't put it down. I read it in like 2 or 3 sittings. No exaggeration. This has turned into one of my favorite books of all time. There's just no getting around it. It's made me feel some type of way. It gave me, which I haven't felt in so long, the feelings I used to get like as a teenager when I used to read like a fantasy series, and I used to get like so into it, or just a book in general. That's what this was. Like, I was so into it and so into the characters, and I just finished it needing more. If you are looking for a super solid fantasy series about fairies, it's not high fantasy, I don't think, but it is so wonderful. I was not expecting, I think, the writing to be as good as it was. The writing was truly amazing. So much of the plot I wasn't expecting either. A lot of the plot was very unexpected, and I was shocked for most of it. At I think the halfway point, I was like, okay, I can kind of guess where this is gonna go, and then the end happened, and I was like, excuse me, what? I now understand the hype. I can also understand why people maybe might not enjoy it. I wouldn't recommend this as a fantasy for beginners. If that makes any sense. I would read this if you've read fantasy before and you're looking for another good YA fantasy. It's definitely on the older side. It's definitely very intense. There's a lot of, as the title suggests, cruel behavior, which was kind of at times hard to stomach. I'm one of those people, I get very uncomfortable when people are very, very evil. It makes me ooh. There were times when I was like, wow, this person's being really mean. And then I'm like, Alyssa, you're reading The Cruel Prince. What did you expect? If you liked Shadow and Bone and you liked The Darkling, then I highly suggest you read The Cruel Prince, because that's someone who's even more mean and more villainous and more complex. Those are the books, some of the books that I read in November. On to the books that I will be trying to read in December. First book that I am attempting to hopefully read this month is Hamlet by William Shakespeare. Allie, over on her channel, I will link her channel down below. She actually started a book club, a Shakespeare book club, which I'm very excited about because I've been wanting to get into Shakespeare. That's really it. The next two books I will be reading in anticipation of hopefully going to the book signing for Holly Black. So, that being said, I am currently in the middle of The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. I am 113 pages in. I was initially hesitant to read this because I was like, I just read a fairy book by her, and this is an older fairy book by her. Will I enjoy it as much? So far, I'm enjoying it. It's really good. I'm enjoying the plot. It's interesting. And yeah, I'm excited to read a fantasy standalone. I don't read many of those. And the last book that I'm considering onto this very loose December TBR is The Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black. Again, I would like to read as many of her books before I see her, obviously, because I would like to get them signed, hopefully. So those are all the books that I read, hauled, and plan to read in December. If you've read any of these, let me know down below. I would like to know. Be interested. And that's all I got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope I shall see you in the next one. Bye.